Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Welcome into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, back here on a Friday afternoon, excited to be talking local, regional, and national sports topics for the next couple of hours with and for y'all. Wade, what's happening?
What's up, Mo? Good to be with you. Good to see everybody on a Friday, and looking forward to a fantastic show here as we cruise into the weekend.
It's going to be a lot of fun, man. We got a lot to get to here over this next couple of hours, and again, excited to do so. In the second hour, we're going to visit with our guy, John D. Brice from footballscoop.com. We'll take a quick look back at the first real week of college football and get you ready for week number 2. Some interesting stuff out there. There's some stuff I want to ask Brice about, and looking forward to his reaction to a couple of things. In the next segment, we'll be joined by David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner. The Tennessee Titans finally getting ready to get started, putting 2024 behind them. They travel to Denver on Sunday, taking on the Broncos in the regular season opener for 2025. And I saw somewhere somebody, and I need to go back and find it because this person needs to be identified for better or for worse. Somebody is predicting the Titans will have a happy flight back from the Mile High City this weekend.
Yeah, we see upsets in week 1. Just everybody thinks they know what's going to happen. Everybody kind of has a hunch what might occur. We expect the Broncos might contend in the AFC, might be a Super Bowl contender, but there's no guarantees they go out and get a win in week 1. That's what makes it fun heading into this opener.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk to David about that, get his thoughts on that one here in the next segment. We'll also be talking a little WNBA. We'll be talking a little Major League Baseball. Got some Nashville Predators news to bring to you at the top of the second hour as we get into the grab bag as the U.S. Open also winds down. NASCAR playoffs heading into their second race of the first round, I guess would be the best way to put that. And little NBA to get into here in the offseason. Things getting a little spicy out on the West Coast. And we will wrap up today's show with the Wonder Slate, as both Wade and I try to kind of redeem ourselves from this past weekend. The first weekend was not great. Wasn't bad. Wasn't great. I don't know that it was necessarily our fault, though, Wade, because a couple of folks kind of put in some stinkers that were a little unexpected.
So, yeah, speaking of when you think you know what's going to happen week 1, some teams just flat out lay eggs on you.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we will look back at week 1 and get you ready for week 2 of the college football schedule with the Wonder Slate. Got some good ones to try to pick here this weekend. At least one not so good one, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun here for the next couple of hours. So be sure and stick around. We're looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Wade, with no further ado, what if we just go ahead and get to yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the rundown?
This is the rundown.
Lock and load, boys and girls. After my browser is frozen, we have thawed out and we are ready to load the rundown, starting with Thursday results, a game that was broadcast on Main Street Prep's Game of the Week coverage. Whites Creek improving to 3-0 for the first time since 2019 with a 46-14 victory over Mount Juliet Christian. Trousdale County all over Innovation Academy last night on the gridiron. 55-6 was your final there. Got some volleyball scores to update you guys on. It was Culleoka 3, Fayetteville 1. Columbia picking up a 3-0 win over Franklin County. Gallatin downing Hendersonville 3-1. Lebanon taking care of Stewart's Creek 3-1. It was Lewis County and Loretto having to go to 5 sets, but Lewis County with a nice victory. Again, 3-2 was your final there. Middle Tennessee Christian 3, Columbia Academy nothing. Santa Fe with a 3-1 win over Moore County. Summertown blanking Murfreesboro Central Magnet 3-0. Straight set victory for Oakland over Rockvale. Same score line for Blackman, who defeated Riverdale last night. Spring Hill with a 3-0 victory over Battle Creek. Providence Christian picking up a 3-0 win versus St. Cecilia Academy. 5-setter goes in Smyrna's favor as they defeat Warren County last night. And Zion Christian turns back to Webb School in straight sets 3-0.
On the pitch yesterday across the mid-state, Gallatin and Christ Presbyterian played to a 2-2 draw. We got coverage of this one in Main Street Murray or at mainstreetmurray.com as Columbia Central handed Battle Creek its first loss of the season and in a big way, 7-1. The Lady Lions remain unbeaten with that win. Skylar Montgomery with a hat trick in the first 10 minutes. It was Cullioca 3, Richland 1, Fairview doubling up Kirkwood 2-1, Franklin with a 2-0 win over Brentwood. Good Pasture and Friendship Christian played to a 1-1 draw. Antioch edged Laverne 2-1. It was Macon County all over Springfield 8-1. Montgomery Central all over McEwen 9-0. Siegel and Oakland scoreless draw. Columbia Academy 2, Providence Christian 0. Rockvale 2-1 over Blackman. It was Riverdale 6, Smyrna 0. Spring Hill with a 9-0 win over Marshall County. Zion Christian likewise against St. Andrew Swanee 9-0. Watertown with a 3-1 win over Canning County, and Merrill Hyde defeated White House 5-2. In Major League Baseball action on Thursday, the Yankees wrapped up that series against Houston with an 8-4 victory. Nashville Sounds, we talked a little bit about this one yesterday because it was an 11:05 start, but Norfolk defeated the Sounds 5-1 yesterday, ended Nashville's 6-game win streak. In the WNBA last night, Phoenix with a 75-69 win over the Mystics of Washington. It was the Las Vegas Aces 97, Minnesota 87. We'll talk about the significance of that one later in the show. We'll also talk about the significance of this one. Golden State 84, Dallas 80. And in the National Football League, Spit Happens was the headline I read somewhere. Philadelphia with a 24-20 win over the Cowboys.
Yeah, classic Simpson style. Who spit first? We'll wonder for ages and ages just how that came to play last night. That one also went into a weather delay. Buckle up, folks, because high school football, make sure you're loaded up tonight. Some of these games have already been adjusted in terms of time. Some of them will get delayed inevitably, but here's your slate regardless. High school football kicking off as West Creek heads to Antioch this evening. Pearl Cone is visiting BGA. Henry County traveling to Beach tonight. Summit will be at Brentwood. Baylor traveling to Brentwood Academy. Innsworth on the road at Briarcrest Christian. Tupelo, Mississippi will make the trip up to Nashville to take on CPA. It'll be Stewart County at Cheatham County this evening. Grace Christian Franklin is on the road at Clarksville Academy. Davidson Academy is visiting Clarksville Northwest. Wilson Central on the road tonight at Coffee County. Dixon County visiting Creekwood this evening. Nashville Christian is at DCA. Franklin Christian is at Easel Harding. Hickman County's on the road at Fairview tonight. Mount Pleasant at Forest underway at 6:15, I've been told now. Again, a lot of these are going to get moved before the night is over, so buckle up. Shelbyville's on the road at Franklin tonight. MBA is at Franklin Road Academy. Mount Juliet visiting Friendship Christian this evening. Also on the slate, Centennial at Gallatin. Page is at Hendersonville. East Nashville will be on the road at Hillsboro. Waverly traveling to Houston County. Warren County visiting Hunters Lane. Columbia at Independence. East Robertson on the road at Joe Burns. Nolansville makes the trip over to John Overton. Kirkwood is at Kenwood tonight. Lipscomb Academy at Knoxville Catholic. Rockvale will be at Laverne. Giles County will be on the road tonight at Lawrence County. And Stratford will take on Lawson.
The Cowbell game when Giles County goes to Lawrence County tonight. Other 7 o'clock starts, or so they are scheduled. Battle Creek is at Lincoln County. Lewis County goes to Loretto. Greenbrier plays at Macon County. Maplewood is hosting Cane Ridge. Father Ryan takes the trip down to Chattanooga, taking on McCallie. I assume that is a 7 o'clock Eastern start, 6 o'clock Central time there. Clarksville Northeast goes north to McCracken County of Kentucky. Lebanon is at McGavock at 7. Harpeth goes to Montgomery Central. Good Pasture is at Moore County. Columbia Academy goes north of Nashville, taking on Pope John Paul II. That's a 7 o'clock start. Springfield is at Portland. Grace Baptist out of Chattanooga travels to Providence Christian over in Murfreesboro. Big game as Green Hill goes to Ravenwood tonight at 7. Westmoreland is at Red Boiling Springs. This game has been moved to 6 o'clock. White House Heritage will play at Richland. Again, that's a 6 o'clock start. Blackman's at Riverdale at 7. Clarksville goes to Rossview at 7. That's the MyTV 30 Friday Night Rivals game this week. Oakland is at Smyrna. Glencliff is at Spring Hill. Stewart's Creek taking on visiting Siegel. Cascade is at Summertown. Liberty Creek goes to Sycamore. Eagleville faces Tennessee Heat. DeKalb County is at Watertown. Station Camp is at White House. And at 6, Creekside Christian Academy of Georgia travels to Zion Christian.
Games that should take place tonight because they're played indoors. Volleyball action set to begin at 4 p.m. tonight as Siegel is going to meet Bob Jones, Alabama. Austin, Alabama will also take on Siegel right after the conclusion of that first matchup. Murfreesboro Central Magnet on the road tonight at 6 p.m. Battle Creek scheduled to visit Culleoka tonight also at 6. Closing our 6 o'clock contest tonight, Smyrna on the road at Shelbyville, and Summertown is at Zion Christian. Girls soccer action beginning at 4 p.m. this afternoon. Grace Christian Franklin is at BGA. Giles County is going to meet Cascade at 4:50, the rarely seen 4:50 start time over in East Tennessee at the Smoky Mountain Cup. Middle Tennessee Christian will be at Grace Baptist, that's out of Chattanooga, a 5 p.m. listed start time for us here. Republic is going to be at Kip Antioch Global at 5. McGavock at St. Cecilia Academy also at 5 p.m. this evening. 6:30 kickoff for Franklin County, who is at Martin Luther King. A 6:40 start time for Lafayette, Kentucky versus Father Ryan. St. Agnes Academy is going to meet Hume Fogg tonight at 8:30. Clarksville and Jefferson County will meet at that same 8:30 time slot. And Walton Verona out of Kentucky will meet Murfreesboro Central Magnet, a trio of 8:30 kickoffs set for tonight. Major League Baseball action set for tonight. Mariners at Braves. That game gets underway at 6:15 p.m. You can see it on FanDuel Sports South. And the Astros will visit the Rangers not too long after that at 7:05 p.m. Sounds are at Norfolk, continuing that series beginning at 5:35 this evening. Trio of WNBA games on the docket tonight. It'll be the Sky at the Fever at 6:30. It'll be the Sparks at the Dream also at 6:30. And at 9 p.m., it'll be the Liberty at the Storm. All of those games will be shown on ION. Load up YouTube at 7 o'clock tonight if you want to watch the Chiefs and the Chargers playing down in Sao Paulo. Should be a fun one as night number 2 of the NFL season rolls along.
Volleyball action on Saturday morning. This is a 9:30 start as Christ Presbyterian faces Cleveland. Also at 9:30, Pace Academy out of Georgia is taking on Middle Tennessee Christian. Collierville will meet Riverdale. Carrollton, Georgia plays Siegel. Those are all 9:30 starts tomorrow. At 10:30, Enterprise out of Alabama faces Riverdale. At 11, it's Pleasant Valley of Alabama and Siegel. Also at 11:30, Arab, Alabama, or Arab, takes on Middle Tennessee Christian. At 12:30, it's Cherokee County of Alabama and Riverdale. Also, Oxford of Alabama playing Middle Tennessee Christian at 1:30. And at 1:30, James Clemens out of Alabama faces Siegel. Girls soccer action tomorrow. This is a 9 o'clock first touch as Holy Cross of Kentucky and Clarksville will match up. Also at 9 o'clock, Green Hill takes on Lakeway Christian. At 10:50, Murfreesboro Central faces Kingston. At 12:40, it's Giles County and Loudoun. Also at 12:40, Boone County, Kentucky, and Portland will play each other. At 2:30, it's Green Hill and Daniel Boone. At 4:20, Bowling Green out of Kentucky takes on Father Ryan. Also at 4:20, Murfreesboro Central and Knoxville Halls. And Halls of West Tennessee. Whoa. Okay, so Murfreesboro Central and Halls are playing. I'm not sure if it's Knoxville Halls in Knoxville or Halls out of West Tennessee. So stay tuned. Check your local listings. 6:10, Portland and David Crockett. Also Murfreesboro Central and DeKalb County. Also at 6:10, Connor out of Kentucky takes on Hume Fogg. And at 8 o'clock, it's Giles County and Coffee County.
College football action coming your way tomorrow beginning at 1:30 on ESPN+. North Dakota State will be at TSU over at Nissan Stadium. Should be a fun showdown there here in the Music City. Austin Peay is going to look to get its third ever FBS win at 2:30. Bad news is I got to go to Georgia. I don't know if I like their chances at 2:30, but it will be shown on ESPN+. If you're a Vols fan, Be on the hunt for that ESPN Plus app because you're going to look for it at 2:30 when you host ETSU. At 3 o'clock, it'll be MTSU at Wisconsin. That game will be shown on FS1. At 6:30 on the ACC network, it'll be Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech on Saturday night. MLB action from Saturday night, a couple of 6:15 first pitches as the Astros and Rangers will begin on Fox, and the Mariners and Braves will resume their series on FanDuel Sports South. 5:35 showdown for the Sounds at the Tides. Again, a 5:35 first pitch on Saturday Sounds action. WNBA, a couple of games on the docket. Phoenix will be at Connecticut beginning at noon, and Minnesota will be at Golden State to close it out at 7:30.
Sunday, girls soccer action at the high school level. Paul Lawrence Dunbar of Kentucky and Clarksville will face off. That's a 9 o'clock start. Also at 9 o'clock at Sacred Heart of Kentucky and Father Ryan. Columbia Central taking on Hume Fogg. At 10:50, Portland and Ottawa will play. And at 12:40, Louisville Ballard and Green Hill will play on the pitch. Major League Baseball Sunday. It's an 11:05 start. Ooh, you can see it on Roku. Seattle and the Braves finish up that series. At 1:35, Houston is at Texas. The Sounds and Norfolk will finish up their series Sunday at 12:05 up on the East Coast. And in the W, we got a trio of games on Sunday. All three on NBA TV. At 2 o'clock, it's the Indiana Fever at the Washington Mystics. At 5, it's the Dallas Wings and the LA Sparks. And at 8, it's the Chicago Sky traveling to Vegas, taking on the Red Hot Aces. 3:05, Fox, Tennessee Titans, Denver Broncos. We'll be talking more about that one in the next segment with David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. By the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And this is a three-parter, all coming from the WNBA. We mentioned the Golden State Valkyries 84-80 win over the Dallas Wings last night in WNBA action. With that victory, Golden State became the first WNBA expansion team to clinch a playoff berth in their inaugural season. Golden State 5 games over 500 at 23-18. They've got 3 regular season games remaining. 2 of those are against the world-beating, league-leading Minnesota Lynx. But Golden State is assured of a berth in the league's 8-team postseason. So congrats to the Valkyries. Again, first expansion team to get into the playoffs in their inaugural year. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, big deal, and it shows, that things can kind of turn in the blink of an eye. And, we talked about it, that they were kind of loading up. They don't necessarily have the classic kind of vibe of a expansion team. They seem to hit the ground running. They hire Coach Natalie Nakisi, and she kind of comes in and immediately sets the culture. I mean, coming from a strong background, obviously, as a player, but then also coming in as a longtime assistant with the Aces. So you got some instant credibility hiring her. You make some shrewd moves, and they just seemingly played well all season long. Had a bit of a lull maybe about a month and a half ago, where, you're kind of hovering right around that cut line of maybe missing the playoffs. But they benefited greatly from the Mystics kind of falling off the face of the earth after their great start. And then they kind of have just gotten better over the last 3 to 4 weeks. This has been a fun little story throughout their inaugural season.
Yeah, and their fans have really responded. They lead the league in attendance with 18,064, and they have had a sellout for each of their home games. So, again, great atmosphere out there, obviously, great fan support, and the team has lived up to the hype, again, earning a WNBA playoff berth in their first season of existence. Again, congratulations to the Valkyries. something new, something old. The Aces with a 10-point win over the Lynx last night as Asia Wilson scores 31. That was Las Vegas's 13th straight victory. We revisited yesterday on Throwback Thursday our conversation with Willie G. Ramirez from last week, and the Aces have been on a heater, and it doesn't show any sign of slowing up anytime soon. Asia's 31 points again was the 12th time this year she scored 30 plus, which ties a league record, and they've jumped on her back, man.
Yeah, this team has kind of really rallied, and this is kind of the very best of what they're capable of. Talk about a team that did not find its way until virtually there was almost no time remaining. Again, about a month ago, we're wondering if this team is maybe even going to make the playoffs. In early August, we're speculating they might fall out of the equation. Now, all of a sudden, it won't happen. But they're still alive, hypothetically, for the 1 seed, and they have an absolute cakewalk of a schedule with 2 games against the Sky, and then they got the Sparks to close things out. Sparks could be battling, but also likely to be eliminated at that point, so they could really be rolling heading into the postseason. And last night, taking care of a team that, had absolutely embarrassed them in their last meeting. We talked about it a lot during that combo with Willie. We saw the absolute best, and we're seeing the absolute best of what this team can be, and they have really seemingly single-handedly kind of made this WNBA season a little more fun, because for the longest time, all season long, it has felt like we're just marching toward the inevitable that the Lynx are going to cut down the nets. Now, all of a sudden, we at least got a little something to think about heading into the postseason.
Yeah, we got a little something to think about. The Lynx have a lot of something to think about, I think, and meanwhile, the Indiana Fever has something to think about as well. Caitlin Clark yesterday confirmed she will not be returning to the court this season. I'd hope to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I want to thank everybody who had my back through all the uncertainty. This is incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way the fans continue to show up for me and the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. Clark played, I think, 13 total games this season, obviously battling a series of injuries and just has not been able to get back on the floor. And meanwhile, the Fever in play for one of those last playoff spots. But if they get in, they're going to literally limp in without Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I mean, their remaining schedule, they're probably going to be safe. First of all, they got the Sky tonight, which, is a borderline automatic dub at this point. But you got the Mystics right after that. Yes, you close with the Lynx, which certainly won't be an easy game. But meanwhile, one of your teams that you're really duking it out with is the Sparks. Unless the Storm just go in free fall mode here, you're really just talking about a 2-team race. Sparks got to play the Dream and the Mercury in 2 of their last 3 games. So no matter how you slice it or dice it, Indiana, playoffstatus.com puts them around 50% to get in. Maybe give them a bigger bump just because of the schedule I just gave you guys. But either way, does not feel like they'll be around very long, and it does not feel like the eyeballs will be there in any capacity, because that is devastating news. They had hoped to at least get her back for the postseason.
Yeah, tough news for everybody involved, for her, for the Fever, and for the league as a whole. So Caitlin Clark out for the remainder of this season, such as it is for the Indiana Fever. Let's take a break here as we continue with the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be joined by David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner, talking a little Tennessee Titans. Stay tuned.
closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
When it just got closer.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
The weekend wrap up. I'm sorry. The weekend warm up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. Joining us now from the Nashville Banner, veteran sports writer David BOCLAIR, as we get set to talk a little Tennessee Titans. David, good afternoon. Oh, we don't have David. My bad. I thought I saw him in the queue.
Pump fake.
Well, yeah, no doubt. Oh, and defensive back big time. Hey, I do want to, though, revisit something that I mentioned in the opening segment talking about the Tennessee Titans. I mentioned that I saw somewhere someone predicting the Titans would knock off Denver in this Sunday opener. Well, it's Garrett Podell of CBSSports.com. Now, I'm not familiar with Garrett, but he's convinced, despite all the numbers that dictate otherwise, and he lays them all out to his credit. The last 16 quarterbacks to go with the number one overall pick are 1-14-1 in their career opener. Caleb Williams last year being the sole winner, and I believe that was against the Titans, wasn't it, Wade?
That's correct. In Chicago.
Yeah. Okay, so there we go. But he thinks that Cam Ward, Tony Pollard, and Calvin Ridley can generate enough against the 2024 season number 3 scoring defense to, again, make it a happy trip home. So, interesting. Hey, I mean, no guts, no glory, and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is why, this is the classic, just throw it out on the internet. We're talking about it. I mean, so you get a little buzz, and who knows, maybe Monday rolls around or Sunday afternoon and you look sharp. There is a little reason to be optimistic about what the offense for the Titans can do this season. Not quite buying that hype versus, a team that had 2 arguable finalists for the Defensive Player of the Year last year. They have a tall order to go, but this is the one benefit or the one kind of reason maybe when you bring in a coach like Brian Callahan is you kind of, much like his last name counterpart for Nashville Soccer Club, you're going with a high variance in terms of your offensive strategy. The old Titans, whether you're talking about Wisenhunt, you're talking about Vrabel, etc., you kind of have that mid kind of cap on what your offense can produce. And to beat an elite defense like Denver, you need to kind of have a real high variance offensive strategy. They have the guys and they have the coaching staff in place. Don't know that they'll be able to pull all that together, but it'll be interesting to see how they do and how they kind of improve as the season goes along.
Yeah, it's going to be. You feel like it's going to be a work in progress, and understandably so. But again, Garrett Podell of CBS Sports feeling pretty good about the Titans here in Week 1. Let's see what our guy on the ground, David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner, thinks about it. David, good afternoon. We can't hear you, David. You're on mute, David.
He's rolling in.
There we are.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry I'm running a little late today. Got caught up in a meeting.
Oh, enough said. We appreciate you getting in, man. Again, we were just mentioning there's a guy on CBS Sports that thinks that the Titans have the goods to pull this thing off in Week 1. I'm not necessarily sure what he bases it on, but obviously a lot of things would have to break right for the Titans. But you know, it is the NFL. Anything can happen. Can this happen?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. You can go back to what was it, 2015, and Marcus Mariota's first game, which was the last time this franchise had a rookie quarterback start in Week 1, and he carved up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that day. Came out of it with 4 touchdown passes, a perfect 158.3 passer rating. This feels like a really, really tall order to me for the Titans. I think if they're going to win this game, Cam Ward, the likelihood that Cam Ward is the impetus of it or the big part of it, it seems unlikely to me. It's more likely they're going to have to score on defense and or on special teams, something like that. They're going to have to make something funky happen because Denver has all of its offensive line back, which might have been the best offensive line in the league last year. It's got most of the key players from its defense back, and it's a defense that led the league in sacks by a wide margin. They got the probably the best cornerback in the league right now. They're a team that had all kinds of momentum at the end of last year and got into the playoffs, and probably comes into this season with as much feel good and positive energy as anybody this side of Philadelphia or Kansas City. And there's a real emphasis on this game for Denver. Since Sean Payton has been there, they have started 0-3 and 0-2 and sort of been chasing the schedule the rest of the way. So they have put a huge emphasis on trying to get out of the gate fast this year, and being at home against a team with a rookie quarterback starting, I'm sure gives them a lot of reason to think that they can get out of the gate fast this year.
To your point, David, it really feels like for the Titans to pull this off, Denver has to help them. And as you look at Denver, they just don't look like the type team that would be the case.
No, I mean, this is as outside of a Super Bowl team or whatever. This is as much of a veteran group, a group that has stayed together, a group that looks like it's really, continuing to build on the previous season, as I've seen in the NFL in a while. There's so much roster turnover year to year now for most teams, and certainly the Titans are not immune to that this year. So I think Denver is they probably feel like they just picked up where they left off last year, and they like I said, they have all that positive momentum. They have the luxury of being a team to watch, but not the team to beat in that division, which of course is going to be Kansas City until somebody actually beats them. So there's, the expectation is there without as much of the pressure as a lot of teams would feel. So I think And Denver's always a tough place to play, right? I mean, you're talking about a stadium that's going to be packed and really, really loud. So you're going to have an offensive line that didn't play together at all in the preseason games. Obviously, the starting five practiced together, but they didn't play it all together in the preseason games. Going to have to deal with a silent count, a rookie quarterback having to navigate some of those communication issues at the line of scrimmage and whatnot. It's just another layer of the things that Cam Ward is going to have to deal with early in his career, just piled on right at the start here.
David, with that being said, we got a rookie quarterback on one side, we got a sophomore quarterback on the other, and to me, when we kind of walk through this path, I'm wondering how aggressive or what is the game plan in your mind if you're defensive coordinator Denard Wilson to try and maybe force Bo Nix into some mistakes? He certainly looked good last year at times, but he is capable of turning it over if you're not careful.
Yeah, I think, we saw with Denard Wilson last year that he's pretty consistent in how he goes about this thing. If you're in third and manageable, he's gonna come with some blitzes and do some things, but he would rather the big challenge here is Denard Wilson loves man-to-man coverage, right? And you saw some of it last night early on in the Philadelphia-Dallas game. It's the classic tale, right, of when guys are covering man-to-man, their backs are turned to the quarterback starts running, he's got all sorts of room to go. I think the real key for the Titans is going to be that front four, the four-man rush, and sort of as Mike Vrabel used to talk about it, the mush rush, where it's going to be more important, I think, to stay in your particular rush lane, not give him areas to exit the pocket so much as it is to go hell bent just to try to get to the quarterback on every play. I think you can probably feel better about defending Bo Nix if he's standing in the pocket trying to find open receivers over and over again, as opposed to letting him get out and use his legs and do some of the things he can do that way.
David, we're talking defense, and you mentioned cornerback play a minute ago. Let's talk secondary. We got two guys that were limited at times this week and have been limited at practice. What can you tell us the latest on L'Jarius Sneed and Kevin Winston? Will those guys be available on Sunday in your mind?
I think Winston is probably, given that he's been limited throughout much of the offseason and training camp and all that anyway, they've been really careful with him. My guess is he's probably inactive the first few weeks of the season. They've got good veteran safety players right now that they I think they feel like they can get by with. L'Jarius Sneed is the big question mark, right? I mean, is he able and ready to play 70 snaps, or is it going to be a situation where maybe one guy who's starting slides, maybe it's say Roger McCreary starts as a cornerback, slides into the nickel position when you need extra DBs, and Sneed is that extra guy. I mean, he's done so little work also throughout the offseason, but he kind of did that his last year or so in Kansas City. He's a guy who can be productive without a ton of practice time. So, it seems like you're asking a lot of him to be out there every day. I guess the positive side of it is he probably knows Cortland Sutton very well from his days in Kansas City, and probably feels like he can match up. There's not a lot of learning that has to go on there. There'll probably be some muscle memory if he does that. He's the big question mark to me, not just this week, but sort of this whole season for that Titans defense.
David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. David, going back to the offensive side for just a second, as you mentioned, this offensive line has not played together. If you're not looking for a win from this team in this road opener, what are you looking for, and how much of that involves this rebuilt offensive line?
You're looking for Cam Ward to have time to stay in the pocket and not feel like he's just going to get blasted every time he drops back. I mean, there were times last year it felt like the Titans were foolish to even try to pass because you were putting your quarterback in such peril. The pass blocking was that bad at times. So, we saw in the preseason, even with his limited snaps, that Ward's not a guy who's looking to just one or two reads and then run, right? I mean, he wants to keep alive the option to throw the ball. He's a calm presence back there, even when there is some pressure, and he didn't face a lot of pressure in the preseason. I mean, I think that's probably the good news. The starting unit that did play, which consisted of at least 3 starters. At time, they looked like a starting NFL offensive line playing against second and third teamers. They held up very well. So now the challenge is to go against not only first team guys, but first team guys who have played together and shown they can get to the quarterback. But I think that's the big thing. I think we've seen rookie quarterbacks over the years, and David Carr in 2000 is the one who immediately comes to mind. Some of these young guys who get stuck behind terrible offensive lines, get their brains beat out for a year or two, and all of a sudden they just play scared. You want Cam Ward to be able to feel a certain amount of comfort and calm back there at all times as he learns to diagnose NFL defenses and deal with all the things he's going to face as he goes through this league now.
And it's preseason and it's everything that goes with that, but it feels like there's reason to be confident that won't be the case, that he's not going to get his brains beat in. And if that's the standard, I mean, it feels like that's a positive.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything's a work in progress with this team right now. They've been scratching at this offensive line issue for years, right? Starting in 2020 with the Isaiah Wilson pick, and they've invested so much, wasted almost is the term you could say, is so much draft capital there, and this year they finally threw free agent money at the problem in Dan Moore at left tackle and Kevin Zeitler at right guard. Lloyd Cushenberry last year. So it's at a certain point that's what you have to do. And if your draft if you keep missing in the draft there, and this team has missed terribly in the draft. With Tajay Spears starting the season on injured reserve. You look at the draft classes from 2020 through 2023 right now, a 4-year period there, which all those guys should be in their prime at the moment. Titans made 29 picks in those drafts. You've got 3 guys on the 53-man roster right now. I mean, you want to know how to set your team up for failure. You blow 4 drafts in a row. I mean, that's how you do it. So that's what this team's fighting against. And when you looked at the cuts they made to get to the 53-man roster, there are a lot of years that you go, wow, I'll bet that was a tough choice. Or, you can look and you say, wow, these 3 guys, they can only keep one of them. And all the cuts this year, you were like, with the exception of maybe James Prochet, you said, yeah, I see that. And then the fact that none of those 27 guys got claimed on waivers by any other team around the league, tells you just where this team is in a roster construction standpoint. I mean, just from a simple talent standpoint, there's a lot to be done. And now you're starting with a rookie quarterback so I think the offensive line again is critical to this, because if nothing else, you have to let Ward sort of settle into the role, and then you build around him the next couple of years.
David, it feels like it would be tough to miss on 4 straight drafts if you were trying to miss on 4
Yeah,
straight
and
drives.
missed huge, right? I mean, like Isaiah Wilson wasn't just a little miss; that was a huge miss. And Dylan Ray, Caleb Farley's, that was a huge miss. And Dylan Radens was a big miss. It's not you're missing on first and second round picks in there too, not just it's one thing to say, okay, fifth, sixth, seventh rounders, none of them panned out. That happens to everybody, but.
Right.
When you're missing on the front end, you've really accomplished something, and that was coming off 2019, which was a really, really good draft. With it started with Jeffrey Simmons and AJ Brown, and of course you traded away AJ Brown. You go with Traylon Burks, another first round pick who you whiffed on, and it's just this current personnel department has a lot to do to sort of dig out from the hole that John Robinson and Rand Carthen left them.
Man, that's tough to even. That's tough to even reconsider, man. Let's.
Today, aren't I?
And that's how you end up with the number 1 pick a few years later.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should get Garrett Podell on. I think I like listening to Garrett Podell better than I do to David seriously. David BOCLAIR of the Nashville Banner joining us here on Main Street Sports today. David, I really appreciate you taking some time with us, man, and obviously look forward to catching up with you here as the season progresses.
Yeah, happy to do it as always, boys. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great weekend.
See you soon, bro.
Thanks, you too. Again, Tennessee at Denver, 3:05 on Fox Sunday afternoon. Check it out. Wade and I'll be talking about the result of that one on Monday. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. Stick around.
Columbia Power and Water Systems is dedicated to bringing our customers reliable, local service. Whether you're turning on a light switch, your faucet, or streaming on TV, our dedicated team members from here in Murray County work every day to keep you on. If you need us, call us 931-388-4833 or visit cpws.com. CPWS, local service, local support.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Fifth, 1960, Milwaukee salvaged a split of a doubleheader, shelling Pittsburgh's Harvey Haddix for 6 runs in 3 innings after losing 9-7 to the host Pirates in the opener. Pittsburgh did get 2 innings of scoreless relief out of Diomedes Olivo as the 41-year-old made his major league debut and became the oldest rookie in National League history. Chuck Cottier went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and scored twice out of the 8-hole for the Braves in the victory. That was this day in Braves history. 41-year-old rookie. Can you imagine? I mean, Jim Morris was old, but I don't think he had cleared 40. That's some stay with it right there, right?
Yeah, you get the rookie paycheck and the AARP benefits all in one.
I like it. Braves open a series at Truist Park against the visiting Seattle Mariners, and they will do it tonight without Ronald Acuna, who is sitting down. Been in the throes of a slump here for the last little bit, but the starting lineup is out, and Acuna is not in it. Jerkson Profar back from paternity leave, and he's in the leadoff spot, and Jake Fraley is holding down right field tonight. So Braves trying to get things going. They did win that finale up at Wrigley Field on Wednesday. Had an off day yesterday, but giving Ronnie an extra day off. Braves 63-77 going into this one. Seattle 73-67. The Mariners will start Logan Gilbert 4-6 with a 3.73 earned run average. Chris Sale gets the ball for the Braves 5-4 with a 2.45, and this will be the home field debut for shortstop Ha-Sung Kim, who was instrumental in that 5-1 victory on Wednesday night with his 3-run 7th-inning home run that brought the Braves back from a 1-0 deficit. Sparked a 4-run rally there. So, obviously the Braves playing out the string. They got 22 games left to play, and as we've mentioned on here on numerous occasions, about all the Braves can do is make things really rough for somebody else. And MLB.com agrees with us, picking the Braves as one of 5 teams that can kind of embrace and fulfill that spoiler role here for some teams coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, they're built perfectly for it, right? I mean, maybe not in their absolute current construct, but this is a team that was predicted by a lot of folks to win the division or contend for the division and, maybe make a deep run in the postseason. So you still got enough base of a franchise there that could pull off some spoiler-type shenanigans. And, it'll be interesting. I had to pull this up, but, the other thing, too, I'd be real curious to see what does this do maybe to that comeback player of the year race that it seemingly was Ronald Acuna's to lose for much of the year. You mentioned that big slump would be kind of a sour note if he kind of ends what obviously has been a blah season. It'll be hopefully getting him back to good going to next year is your bigger concern there. But there is a chance for the Braves to, sneak around the chicken coop and upset some folks down the stretch here.
What are those comeback player of the year prospects looking like, Wade? I hadn't even checked that out. Is he?
Latest from Oddsopedia. Take this for what it's worth. I'm not even familiar with this site, but their projections in mid-July, Acuna was minus 1,100. I mean, he was absolutely running away with this award. But also, you got guys to contend with like Alcantara, who's in the mix. Christian Yelich in the mix. So I haven't seen any updated odds. I'll try and circle back to that, but that's what made me wonder when you talk about somebody that's kind of going through a slump, and then it's almost like, well, do we just give it to somebody else just to make them feel better? I mean, we know the goods, and we're talking about an MVP, right? We're talking about a guy that is got the bang for the buck. So is that something that he really needs, or do you maybe spread the love around and let somebody like a Marlins winner feel a little special, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Braves Marlins tonight, 6:15 first pitch. Yankees with an 8-4 win over Houston last night to wrap up that series. Carlos Rodon, 6 innings, 3 strikeouts, picks up the win. He is one of 2 16-game winners in the majors right now, joining Freddie Peralta from Milwaukee with 16 wins. Jordan Alvarez with 4 hits and a homer in the losing effort for the Astros. But some interesting gamesmanship, chicanery, Aaron Boone being Aaron Boone, pick one. The Yankees requested to have Taylor Trammell's bet checked during last night's game. The umpires took a look at it. confiscated it. We'll be checking it out further. Apparently, there was some concerns about some discoloration on the barrel of Trammell's bat following his ninth inning double, ultimately again in the 8-4 loss. But so this has been ironed out. Apparently on Friday morning, MLB reportedly deemed the bet illegal, but Trammell did not gain an advantage, and that's why he was allowed to stay in the game. Now, I wonder what's illegal about the bat necessarily, and I don't know if they spell that out. It appears
It's
to be
it's just a torpedo bat. You know, remember when those were hot in the streets? It was just a torpedo bat. Is all it was.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. The Yankees and the Astros are having postseason aspirations and could get together once again. Imagine that this will, raise its ugly head once again, should that be the case. But Yankees called Taylor Trammell's bat into question last night. It got taken from him. So dude's got to use another bat now. Guys don't like that. Astros traveling to Arlington, taking on Texas tonight. That's a 7:05 start. Houston 77-64, sitting atop the AL West. Texas at 72-69, 5 games back. Resting between them is Seattle at 3.5 back. So maybe the Braves can start that spoiler roll and do a solid for the Astros here this weekend. It's Hunter Brown going for the Astros, 10-7 with a 2.34 earned run average. Former Arizona Diamondback Merrill Kelly, 11-7 with a 3.24, getting the ball for the Rangers, a trade deadline pickup there. So Houston trying to hold it in the road here as we come down the stretch.
Yeah, interesting strategy, right? Try and win the division by not really winning any games, but just relying on everybody else kind of sucking. And that's kind of what they're doing at the moment. You know, I've talked about them. They're the kind of the baby Astros, and they're not the Astros of old. They're not really running away with it like you'd hope down the stretch. But Seattle has really, really kind of floundered and underachieved, so much so that it's allowed the Rangers, who seemingly were left for dead, they're on a 2-game losing streak, but prior to that, they had won like 9 games in a row or something crazy. They were on fire down the stretch. If they had had a few more timely wins earlier this week, we'd be talking about a real close wild card race and a real close division race. But yeah, Houston's hanging on for now. It'll be interesting to see if they can hang on all the way through to the finish line.
It must be a West Division thing because it feels like the Dodgers are kind of taking that same approach. Paul Skeens did what Paul Skeens do, 6 scoreless innings as Pittsburgh swept the Dodgers, finishing up that series with a 5-3 victory yesterday. Skeens improves to 10-9 with a 1.98 ERA, which leads all of baseball. But the Dodgers with a 2-game lead in the NL West over San Diego because the Padres got swept by Baltimore.
Yeah, 2 teams just going in the same direction and both trending downward, right? I mean, the Dodgers. We've seen this, though. Both of those teams throughout the course of the season at times look like clearly the 2 best teams in all of Major League Baseball, and then also at times we'll see them lose 3 or 4 in a row. And the Dodgers, like you said, maybe it's something to do with those Western waters, I guess, because losing 3 in a row, but really just skating by the fact that the Padres have lost 8 out of their last 10.
Yeah. Dodgers go to Baltimore this weekend. San Diego goes to Colorado. So looks like an opportunity for both of them to flourish. We will see if that turns out to be the case. We talked about the Sounds having their 6-game winning streak stopped yesterday in that morning/matinee matchup up at Norfolk 5-1. They will play again at 5:35 tonight. Finish up that series over the weekend, come home Tuesday, taking on the Gwinnett Stripers 1P. So last chance to get out to First Horizon and see the Sounds will be next week. Keep that in mind. Let's take a break as we wrap up hour number 1 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll jump into the grab bag. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Is your internet slowing you down? It's time for an upgrade. Whether you're at home, working from your home office, or at your business, it's time to unleash the speed you need with speeds up to 1 gig at CPWS for as low as $70 a month. Give us a call, 931-375-7777. Local service, local support, CPWS.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. This is the grab bag. And Predators fans, if you're not season ticket holders, but you're interested in picking up single game tickets, then next week is your week. Single game tickets go on sale for all 40 home games a week from today, Friday, at 9 o'clock Central Time on Ticketmaster. Good luck with Ticketmaster, y'all. But if you are apparently in the regional TV viewing market of the Predators, you will get exclusive early access to single game tickets plus 20% off from Tuesday through Thursday. And if you join the Preds database, you can get access on Monday. So tickets go on sale Friday, but you can get into those a little earlier depending on how much private information you're willing to divulge. But they open the season at Bridgestone on October 9th against the Blue Jackets. And obviously you can go to NashvillePredators.com for more information on all of this. But tickets go on sale next week, and the season is right around the corner.
Season right around the corner. Big question I want to know, Mo, is if you get in line and you give this information to them, are you eligible for back pay for what you had to endure watching them last year? Because if you're not, I don't know that I'm willing to divulge. I'm going to need to see some games first before I start splashing some cash down. I get, the excitement and the chance to get in there early. But if I'm not eligible for back pay, they're going to win me over with some victories early in the season. Hopefully I get off to a good start.
They are giving you 20% off if you purchase Tuesday through Thursday. So maybe that's a little...
I'm going to need about 100% off at this rate. But we can dictate terms as the year goes on. I'm open to that.
last year was tough to watch for sure. Tickets to 11 gold home games will only be made available to fans residing in the Preds TV viewing area. Those are the October 26th matchup against the Dallas Stars, also November 8th against the Stars, November 22nd against Colorado, September 20th against the Maple Leafs, the 21st against the New York Rangers, January 10th and 11th against the Blackhawks and Washington, February 26th against the Blackhawks, March 5th against Boston, March 21st against Vegas, and March 28th against the Canadiens. So they are really trying to keep the opposing fans out for those 11 games, apparently. And I mean, we've gotten overrun at times by Blackhawks fans and that kind of thing. I mean, I can see it, but you know, come on. Little surprise.
Hey, real quick too. Other quick thing on that. Man, it was tough. I know they stunk last year, and there were a few teams that were even lower than them in this number, but only one nationally televised game. That really kind of wounds the pride a little bit for the Preds fan base, and it's not even a home game. It's their game against the Avalanche later. But the other thing that does get me excited, does get me a little intrigued. The bobblehead series was announced as well, and on November 8th, you can line up in their final home game before they head off to Sweden. The Philip Forsberg bobblehead will be given out then, but circle the dates in December. On the 11th, they'll do the Nate Bargatze bobblehead giveaway. January 13th, Dirks Bentley. That one will be a fan favorite, I would imagine, as will Luke Bryan on February 4th, and I'm curious to see how they pull this off. The Carrie Underwood and Mike Fisher combo bobblehead on March 28th.
I'm wondering what that'll look like. I'm excited for Nate Bargatze, though, getting the Preds bobblehead. That's pretty cool.
Again, he hopefully is entitled to royalties because that could be midway mark, close to the midway mark of the season. They may be saying, "Hey, I didn't agree to this for this team." Hopefully, they get it turned around. They cannot be as bad as they were last year. That's at least a good little saving grace.
The women's singles championship of the U.S. Open is set. You've got Sabalenka and Anisimova set to face off tomorrow after semifinal victories. The men's semifinals are today. One should be in progress, I would think, and the other coming later. But Djokovic and Alcaraz, I would imagine, are going at it right about now, to be followed by Sinner and Auger Aliassime.
Works for me.
Did I get that right, Wade?
Yeah, the Canadian, right? No Americans in the Final Four for the men. Alcaraz has won the first set. You're right, 6-4. On that ladies' side, man, it was compelling theater last night and disappointment. We saw Naomi Osaka, and she has kind of revitalized her career in many regards with this little 13-day run, 13-day spell up in New York, but heartbreak yet again. It looked like she was going to be destined for the victory last night. Was having fun kind of watching her hold court, as it were, but it was not meant to be. And so be interesting to see kind of how it plays out through the weekend here. But yeah, Alcaraz with an early lead on the Joker.
Okay. Do you feel like, Wade, is that the championship right there?
Well, no, because it's interesting that you say that. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week. We've entered this weird phase of tennis. Ben Shelton, when he departs with the injury a couple of days ago, that really kind of put a damper on things. And we saw Frances Tiafoe fall out as the other American hopeful. But we're really just talking about a two-man sport at this particular time. And even when Nadal was in his prime, even when Federer was in his prime, there were still a guy like a Stanislav Wawrinka or a couple other folks that were still lurking around and making things interesting. It's Alcaraz and it's Sinner right now. They delivered the goods earlier at Roland Garros. Not quite as much at Wimbledon, but it was still pretty compelling. But yeah, it's a two-man sport at this point, and unfortunately, if you're not a fan of those two guys, you're not going to really enjoy the outcome, I don't think, this weekend.
The NASCAR Cup Series playoffs have started. Chase Briscoe winning at Darlington this past weekend. The series moves to St. Louis for the second of 3 races in the round of 16. Next week they go to Bristol, but and then they will cut down to 12. picking Heather Williams' brain earlier today. It feels like Hendersonville's Josh Berry really needs a good show this weekend to give himself a chance to advance here. But the playoffs continue again this weekend up at St. Louis.
And, it feels like we're primed for a little drama. It feels like we're primed for a little theater. Hopefully NASCAR delivers the goods. It's been a fun season, even following from very much from afar from my vantage point here. But be nice to see Barry kind of get in the mix. Yeah, give the local folks a little something to cheer about. We saw, a little local flair at the Music City Grand Prix. Let's see if we can get the same for a local guy here as we trend down the stretch of the NASCAR scene.
That would be pretty cool. Again, as you mentioned, Newgarden getting the win out at Gladeville week and a half ago. And yeah, if Josh could come up with something in advance, that would be nice for the Hendersonville folks as well, I'm sure. Wade, you are way more in tune. Wade, are you there? Mark, did we lose Wade just up out of nowhere?
We're back. Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
The mice were nibbling at the power protector here, so now we're good.
I hate when that happens.
Yep.
You're a lot more in tune with the NBA than I am. What in the heck is going on in Los Angeles with the Clippers and Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard?
That's a great question, and I about spit out my Diet Mountain Dew on Wednesday's show when Calvin simply said, that's a lot of money, whether you're paying it over the table or under the table to a guy that doesn't really play a lot of games. I kind of just spit my drink out when I heard that. And, it is fascinating. It also does not seem, like this is the only time in the history of sports that we've talked about somebody, receiving. We opened up the show talking about the WNBA, and the Aces have been in the league's crosshairs for so long, for kind of skirting salary cap rules and paying players under the table. That's just in the WNBA. There's a certain Patriots quarterback that, always was lauded for taking pay cuts and the hometown discount. It just does make you scratch your chin a little bit. But when things kind of start getting involved and, you're talking about a business, I love the business model, by the way. We're going to convince these celebrities and these millionaires and billionaires that feel bad about hurting the environment while they're flying on their private jets. We're going to invent a company or a fund that, plants trees and kind of saves the environment. That seems like a genius business model. I don't know how I didn't invent that scheme. But when it falls apart, it falls apart. And they end up in the crosshairs of Pablo Torre, Duke Kawhi Leonard, and Steve Ballmer. And I go back to Calvin's point, whether it's above the table or under the table, that's a lot of money to be paying a guy that does not appear in a ton of games as of late. And I love the fact, you click on the tweet from 2 years ago where you click on the happy birthday message and they have tagged, the tweet was sponsored at that time by the Aspiration Corporation. That account is now defaulted. And so you go to some random woman's Twitter profile. That was the other real kind of gem amongst all this story here. Some random woman on Twitter gaining followers by the boatload from a 2-year-old tweet.
Calvin White don't miss, clearly. And
he cracked me up.
The upshot of this, though, is, as you mentioned, Pablo Torre, who was on Bill Simmons's radar earlier this summer, I guess, when Simmons kind of called into question Torre's journalistic chops. And ever since then, this guy has been on a tear.
Yeah, when he calls your phone, do not answer. I don't care if you got something to hide or not. You're better off not answering. That's one of my favorite watches every week is the new episode of Pablo Torre Finds Out. And when this dude, like I said, if he's not stopping, rose to prominence this summer in particular, and that's why Bill's obviously frustrated with him because he was digging on the Jordan and Belichick scandal, and trying to get to the bottom of things. But the fact of the matter is, if that dude is snooping around your office or your place of business, you better buckle up because he's going to find something.
Yeah, he kind of strikes you as the national version of our Phil Williams at News Channel 5, maybe. That's not a guy that you want to have his attention at all. So, interesting stuff there for the Clips and for for Ballmer and and the oft injured Kawhi, as Calvin White would have you remember.
I heard this point made though too. I mean, if you're the Clippers, yeah, this is kind of embarrassing, and who knows, if there are any sort of real ramifications for your franchise. But it's a hell of a lot better than what the previous ownership group was doing there.
There's that. They were getting negative attention for a much worse reason. So, yeah, this is definitely an upgrade, even in terms of negative eyes. So, yeah, good job, Steve. Let's take a break here as we continue the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will swing into college football, speaking of Bill Belichick, with John Brice of Football Scoop. Stay tuned.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, as we await the arrival of John D. Brice from Football Scoop. Another big weekend of college football ahead of us. In the next segment, the final segment of the show, Wade and I will be giving you our Wonder Slate picks from 10 games across the college football landscape. But avoiding those for just a second, Wade, is there anything that particularly jumps out at you as you look at the schedule?
Well, what jumps out is, this happens almost every year. You get so excited about college football being back. In the last few years, they kind of overload you with these high-profile games in week one, and then you come crashing back down to earth in week two. If you are looking to go out and, as they say, touch grass this weekend, this is not a bad weekend to do it because it's only going to get better. Once we get into the conference slate, once we get into a few more, only one matchup between two top 25 teams this week. Once you get kind of later in the season, all hands are on deck. So if you want to go out and knock out some chores or some yard work, build up some good karma amongst your family or your spouse or your loved one, this is not the worst weekend to do it, but it will still be fun, and there is still plenty of compelling stuff here this weekend.
There we go. Speaking of compelling, we bring to the mic and to the screen from footballscoop.com, John D. Bryce. Bryce, good afternoon.
Boys, good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, man. Wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit coming out of week one and coming into a somewhat more mundane week two of the college football season. I guess what caught your eye coming out of last weekend, and what's on your mind heading into this one?
Obviously, I mean, I would be under a rock if I didn't say that Alabama caught my eye for not because the Tide lost, but because the way the Tide lost, the body language on the field very early on, the fact that I thought I saw some guys turn down tackles on defense, not pursue to the ball. I was in Miami for Miami Notre Dame. I saw a Miami team that played with the physicality of an SEC team and not an ACC team. That was a Miami team that really got after the Irish on both lines of scrimmage. That impressed me. LSU getting a big road win like that at Clemson and shutting Clemson out for the final 34 minutes and 30 seconds of that game. That's pretty big time. We know Brian Kelly's had some good offenses with LSU. He's not always had a defense that could uphold the bargain. That stood out a lot to me. Ohio State, especially at home, good enough to beat a Texas team that didn't play particularly well and frankly left a lot of points on the field. And I thought for all the talk about Arch Manning, I don't think Steve Sarkisian did him any favors. And I think Steve Sarkisian is an elite offensive mind and play caller. I thought he had a really bad day last weekend.
That said, I guess we'll kind of save the best for last in terms of wrapping up week one. Got to go to Chapel Hill, and not just what took place on Monday night, but what's taken place since. There's an article out there where apparently Belichick has limited NFL scouts' access to practice and completely banned New England Patriots personnel from attending practice. What is going on in Chapel Hill?
Yeah, that's ego run amok. I've reached out to a few NFL scouts, not necessarily with that organization, but with people that run deep in the league, and I haven't had anybody refute it to me. So I think that's interesting. I also think it's an absolute trash bag move. I think it's absolute garbage. You've built yourself as the 33rd team, so to speak. You're supposed to be basically an NFL junior franchise, but you're going to shut out apparently a full franchise and make it incredibly difficult for dozens of others. I just think that's a petty trash maneuver. But I think that North Carolina has been an absolute abject disaster in its entire pursuit and empowerment of Bill Belichick. And I think that's unfortunate because it's not been at the feet of Bubba Cunningham, their outgoing AD, who I think is really, really good and a really well-principled man who's done a lot of good in college athletics and who's tried to lead North Carolina through some troubled times and had different top target in mind. Bill Belichick was never his top target. He got overruled by the ivory tower and by people that write big checks. So we'll see how it goes. But holy moly, there was a lot of poetic justice Monday night. And if you follow me on Twitter, and I think both of you guys are kind enough to do that, you saw that I was tired but tweeting through the delight.
I think a lot of people were, Go ahead, boy.
I was going to say, and John, I mean, you watch that game and the build-up and the moment kind of was, fascinating. And we've certainly seen, quote-unquote, celebrity coaches in the past and fanfare arriving. But in the blink of an eye, things turned from, decent and the vibes were kind of okay to just off the charts bad. The question is, Charlotte is so bad, presumably they can't lose to Charlotte this weekend. Charlotte is so bad you can get a win. Is this thing even remotely salvageable in terms of trying to build any sort of camaraderie going forward for this team in your mind?
Yeah, it's tough to say camaraderie. I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know if those guys are just bad football players who like each other or if they're good football players who don't like each other. And I think there's a big difference there. I would tend to think that a lot of those guys are over-rostered. And what I mean by that is they added, 73 new people, something like that. I've written about it. I know it's basically the second most extensive roster flip in college football history, behind Deion bringing 84 new bodies into Colorado a couple of years ago. I think North Carolina's number 2 for most all time. But they got a lot of guys that were FCS or G5 and guys that were still in the portal. And so, and I'm not knocking those guys. Like they're taking advantage of an awesome opportunity, and they're playing for a global brand in North Carolina, not from a football standpoint, but just that Tar Heel logo is known around the globe. And so that's pretty dope for those kids. But I don't think there's a bunch of great football players on that team. If they were in the Big Ten or the SEC, I would think North Carolina might be a 2-win team all year. Can they get to 4 or 5? Maybe. I think I saw Nick Carboni, who's a Charlotte TV sports anchor, used to be in Knoxville, a friend of mine. I saw him tweeting Monday night, like people were trying to hand this team 8 wins. Who watched this game and sees 8 wins on the schedule? I don't see that at all. I don't see a lot of answers. I'm sure they'll be better. That Charlotte team is going to be incredibly well coached, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, because Tim Allen has been a massively successful head coach at Ohio U, who's always done a good job with less. And so he's accustomed to working with less, and he's got less right now at Charlotte. Bill Belichick's accustomed to working with one of the 3 greatest quarterbacks of all time, and then having access to the same resources as literally the 31 other teams he had to compete against, plus occasionally having illegal signals. So he was Connor Stallions before we knew Connor Stallions taping those walkthroughs.
Allegedly on both counts. The Michigan Wolverine and me wants to point out there.
No, I'm sorry, but no. I'm going to pick Michigan this weekend, Wade. Now, I'm not saying allegedly on Connor damn Stallions.
Hey, so I was going to save that for the end, but since you mentioned it, John, I was getting ready before you came on this show, and I was going to ask you, how in the world does Michigan possibly win this game? Because I have seen nothing in my fandom that kind of leads me to believe that they're ready to win that game just yet. And then lo and behold, I go to footballscoop.com, and you pick the Wolverines to do so. How does Michigan go into Norman and win that game?
Well, I think I'm on an island on the scoop picks, so I hope I'm on a happy island and not on a deserted island. But I like Wink Martindale, the Michigan defensive coordinator, and that entire defensive staff. And I don't think John Mateer, for all the numbers he's put up, I don't think he's seen many defenses as physical, athletic, or as potentially confusing and complex as what Michigan has the ability to throw at him. I think Bryce Underwood, while not as experienced as Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer, has some singular talents that he's trying to develop, but has the potential to be truly top-end elite. And then Michigan, I think, will have a chance to be the more physical team in the lines of scrimmage, particularly the Michigan offensive line. We'll see, but Oklahoma did not, and I'm sure Oklahoma didn't show a lot, but Oklahoma didn't just run wild over the FCS team that it hosted last week to open the game, to open the season. And I think Mateer threw 37 passes against that team in order to amass some solid numbers. So if this was a neutral site game, I would pick Michigan with an incredible amount of confidence. But I still think Michigan, for those reasons outlined, has a very solid chance to win. Obviously, Sharon Moore is going back to where he played his college ball at the University of Oklahoma. He will motivate those guys,
and he will get to be on the sideline for the game. This is one of the few early ones he'll get to be there.
Yeah. No matter what you think about Michigan, whether you're a fan or not, or whether you just observe and scratch your head at some of the things that program has done in recent years, it has always played hard for Sharon Moore when he was having to fill in for the suspended Jim Harbaugh, when he was a full-time first-year head coach last year. And even last week, that's a Michigan team that plays hard for him. I think he does a very nice job of having the pulse of his team. And those are the reasons I see. Look, there's more pressure on Oklahoma in this game too, because, the Big Ten and the SEC are hands down the 2 best conferences. But Oklahoma's probably got a lot more what you would consider very likely L's on its calendar the rest of the way than what Michigan does.
You're talking about taking a true freshman into Norman, though, at quarterback. How do you, if you're Michigan, go about making things a little bit easier for Underwood in hostile territory?
Well, I think you hope and believe you can establish your run game and anything you can do to take pressure off him. I also think that's why you lean on your defense. You lean on a guy like Wink Martindale, who's coordinated NFL defenses at a high level and then had a great defense last year in Michigan. Michigan was a 500 team or so last year, but not because of that defense. And yeah, a bunch of those dudes are now in the NFL, but a bunch of the coaches are still there. And that's from Brian Jean Mary to Wink Martindale to Lou Esposito. There's some really fine coaches, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Some guys I like a lot, some guys I respect tremendously. And those are the things for me. Like, you got to be sound. Don't ask Bryce Underwood to win the game for you, and you shouldn't have to ask him to win the game for you because you are Michigan. You should never have to ask a true freshman quarterback in his second ever start on the road to win the game for you.
John Bryce of Football Scoop joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. John, as Wade was mentioning right before you joined us, not a great schedule, especially compared to last week, which, I mean, I guess it would have been tough to keep that pace up. But besides Michigan, Oklahoma, what are you really excited about this weekend?
I'm telling you, maybe it's because I am such a college football wonk, but I'm gonna probably surprise you with one of the ones that I truly do have circled, and that is Western Kentucky at Toledo. Two of the best G5 programs out there. Just had the Western Kentucky GM and DPP, Jeray Thurman, on my podcast this week. If I could shamelessly plug that, it's on the Our Coaching Network podcast, and he was awesome. His story is phenomenal. He spent 12 years in the Navy. He's launched missiles, and now he's compiling a college football roster. Just a great story. So ignore how bad the host is, but please go listen to Jeray Thurman because he's as selfless as it gets, and he's a rising star in the world of college football personnel. But Ty Helton has done a great job. Remember, Jeremy Pruitt couldn't stop yelling at Tyson Helton the one year he was Pruitt's offensive coordinator. And now Pruitt is, I think, at an elementary school, and Tyson Helton's winning games and playing for conference championships at Western Kentucky. Jason Candle at Toledo is fabulous. He has been this close to getting so many big-time jobs. He's been this close to getting so many big-time offensive coordinator jobs, and for whatever reason at the last minute has elected not to stay, elected not to go, gotten cold feet, taken too long to decide and been passed over. Jason Candle will have job opportunities again after this year, especially I think if Toledo has the type of season it should and could have. They were very competitive last week with Kentucky. Western Kentucky 2-0, not many 2-0 teams out there, byproduct of them playing week 0. If this game was in Bowling Green, I'd pick Toppers. This game's in Toledo. I'm picking the Rockets, but I'm really fired up about that game. Tonight, I'm really fired up for James Madison, Louisville. James Madison, another crown jewel from the G5 group. This is Bob Chesney's second year. He was fabulous at Holy Cross. He had a nice debut year last year, not to where they had been under Signetti, certainly not what Signetti did last year at IU. But Chesney's a really good football coach. That program had some of the best resources of any G5 program, especially anyone on this side of the country. Boise State's in that mix, Tulane's in that mix, but those are three. So I just love that matchup. I'm really excited for Iowa State, the Cy-Hawk Trophy battle. It might only end up being 13-9 or 3-2. We don't know, but it will be competitive and it will be fun to watch. And if Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes win that game, guys, he becomes the winningest coach in the history of the Big Ten. That's pretty phenomenal.
Speaks to his longevity and speaks to, obviously, the success. And, I'm fascinated by that game. That's kind of one of those games you either got to be a real sicko or just a real fan of the two programs to watch, because you're right. It does feel like it has kind of 13-9 or 12-10 somehow kind of written all over it.
One more, if I could, please. Kansas, Missouri. That game, I know you boys are on Twitter because I see you. I don't know if you've searched Kansas, Missouri Hate Week or anything like that. Don't do it if you have kids or women around you, but go search Kansas, Missouri Twitter. It is some quality entertainment and some not quality entertainment.
Well, they've been going at each other's throats in those particular states for hundreds of years. So, I mean, it can come by it naturally, right? So with that being said, too, we're used to that, obviously, seeing in basketball. handicap that game for us because you had the panel kind of split there in Kansas and Missouri this week.
Yeah, and it's another one where if it's a neutral site game or at Kansas, I wouldn't have hesitated whatsoever in picking the Jayhawks. I still like picking the Jayhawks because of Jalen Daniels, and he's been healthy so far. It's just 2 games, and you monitor his back. You worry about his back because that's so limited him. But he's a 6-year quarterback. He's a really dynamic player. I think he'll be right there for Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year at the end of the year as long as he stays healthy. Missouri has the benefit of home field advantage. Missouri has played particularly well at Faurot Field under Elia Drinkwitz, and certainly that program has some overall momentum from its 10-win 2023 season to some of the games it won and some of the good things it did last year, and then started off with, just sort of a casual but dominant victory last week. But I don't like Missouri as well at quarterback, and they've got injuries at quarterback as well, even though they were already playing 2. The Horn kid is injured at quarterback, so that leaves Pribula, the Penn State transfer. He's a huge dude, man. He will punish you. But I'm not sure if Kansas can limit the Missouri run game. I'm not convinced. Maybe I'll be proved wrong tomorrow. I'm not convinced Pribula is ready to beat them with his downfield passing.
John Brice of Football Scoop joining us here on Main Street Sports today. One that you've not mentioned, but one that I'm kind of fascinated by, and Wade and I will be picking it in the next segment when we dive into the Wonder Slate. But UCLA goes to Vegas, taking on the Rebels. And, UCLA dropped a tough one to Utah. Did not look great in doing so this past weekend. If they go to 0-2 against a G5 team after that tough loss to Utah, how bad do things get for Deshaun Foster out there?
They get super bad, Mo. They get absolutely super bad because that was not a rock bottom program when he took over. Let's remember, Chip Kelly left just to go be Ohio State's offensive coordinator and to produce a year that would get him back in the NFL. And he did exactly what he wanted to do. He led Ohio State to a national title. Bam, he got a massive payday to go be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. That's exactly what he wanted to do. He was frustrated with the leadership at UCLA. He was watching the way the game was changing and realizing how far behind UCLA was falling from a resources standpoint, despite being in a hotbed of talent. But the bottom has fallen out thus far under Deshaun Foster. Now, I will say, Utah coach Kyle Whittingham, who's up there alongside Kirk Ferentz for the longest tenured coaches right now in college football, the week before that game, he publicly said, and obviously Kyle Whittingham's not prone to hyperbole, he publicly said, I think this is the best offensive line I've ever had here. I think we've got 2 draft picks at our 2 tackle positions. So UCLA got absolutely worked and looked like they were Concord de La Salle playing Utah last week. But that Utah team, I think, will play for the Big 12 championship and have a chance to be a college football playoff team. But a loss to UNLV, and then beyond that, they have 9 more games against Big 10 foes. You got a whole lot of losing left. But the other question would be how much trouble – you ask how much trouble is Deshaun Foster in. The other question is how much does UCLA care? And there's a very divided house on that right now that would tell you there's probably as many people who don't care if UCLA football is good or not as there are who do. There might be more people who don't care if UCLA football is good or not.
John, you mentioned the Big 12. I got to ask you 2 things Arizona State related. Number 1, are they even remotely prepared for the amount of cowbells? And then number 2, we talked about Kansas and Missouri a minute ago. It seems like this has been for 2 teams that are not rivals, this has had an oddly rivalry kind of take, it seems like, on the social media channels.
Yeah, it's been nuts. No, you can never be prepared for the cowbells if you've not been there to a game, but if you just haven't grown up in SEC country to understand how ubiquitous they are over the course of a game. You don't have to have been to Davis Wade and Stark Vegas to know the cowbells because you see them on TV every week. You maybe saw Ron Franklin calling them on Jefferson Pilot games or whatever back in the day. Like, you know to expect it. But if you've never heard it, then you don't know it. And you've never heard it from 40,000 people. And they got a decent win last week. And, they like Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby's in a situation very similar to Deshaun Foster in terms of, resources not having them and being at an unfair disadvantage for that. I do still think Arizona State finds a way to win this game. But the Cowbells, Kenny Dillingham is young. He's sharp. He's been around. I'm sure he's done some things to try and replicate that or pipe in some cowbell noise. I don't know if he could get Will Ferrell to practice this week or not. But Kenny Dillingham's young. He's sharp, and he wants to turn. He's got the idea of turning one of the end zones for Arizona State home games into their version of the number 16 hole of the Waste Management Open, which is the most raucous party scene on the PGA Tour and one of the most raucous scenes anywhere in sports right now. So Kenny Dillingham tends to lean into the chaos, and I would imagine he will tell his team, lean into the noise, lean into the chaos. Also, you can shut those bells up if you go whip the tails.
With that said, regarding Arizona State, Bryce, I was kind of intrigued when you said you felt like Utah had the chance to play for the Big 12 championship, because last year was so chaotic in that conference that to even have one team determined this early in the season just feels a little chancy, to say the least.
Well, they're not bold. They're not called stale predictions, Mo. They're bold predictions, buddy. And I said play for. I didn't say win. There's two teams. Sure. There's two teams. I think that the season will bear out that Utah, Arizona State, probably Iowa State, and Kansas are the top four teams in the Big 12. And I don't have the schedules all in front of me. Some of those games will depend. Do they actually play each other, and where do they play? But Kyle Whittingham's been doing it a long time. They're always really good on defense. If they've got that kind of offensive line, they possess a physicality that I'm not sure many, if any, other Big 12 teams do.
Hey, real quick, since you mentioned it, when we're talking Big 12 here, one team you did not kind of mention in that rundown, how bad are the vibes right now for Baylor, who has another very challenging game this week? We, during our conference preview section, there were some real strong rumblings, and I know they're non-conference games, but Baylor already potentially facing a wicked start before they even enter league play.
Yeah, and let's not forget the fact that about midway through last season, guys, it looked like Dave Veranda might get shown the door. Now, to his credit, he righted the ship, and I think they ended up winning 8 games. And he got extended. I don't know how much more money he got, but he got extended, and they brought a lot of players back. But you don't get extended like that and not have really any significant financial additions to it and feel like you're on real stable ground. SMU is an opponent they have historically dominated. There's a lot for Baylor to gain if it can win this game, but as you point out, Wade, there's a lot more to lose if the Bears lose this game, because again, they're not done losing.
There is a game this weekend that I am really surprised we've not
I was getting ready to ask you about
addressed. Go ahead.
Are you talking about up in Blacksburg, Virginia?
No, I'm not talking about Blacksburg, Virginia, but that's a good one. No, I'm talking about Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting intra-conference matchup there when Oklahoma State goes to Oregon, number 6 Oregon. Maybe that's why it's kind of flying under the radar, because Oregon is number 6 in the country and Oklahoma State is unranked. But it just feels like that's a game that maybe deserves a little bit of attention.
Mike Gundy has always, over the course of his career, had the ability to step up and win some of these games, be it in Oklahoma or be it at Texas or be it whomever. I would be very stunned if this game is competitive beyond halftime. And I'm not sure it'll be competitive up until halftime. Saw a stat today that Mike Gundy is the active career wins leader for wins against AP top 25 teams. He's got 40 of those wins. That's
40, huh?
That's winning a lot of games against quality opponents, but he's coached a lot longer than Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart was second or third on that list with 37. And Dan Lanning has certainly started adding his own set of pelts atop Oregon. Oregon is, to me, very close to being an SEC team on the West Coast. And that's no accident, because Dan Lanning learned under Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, and he's building that program and that image. And Oklahoma State's way behind in NIL. Oklahoma State is behind in rev share, and because of that, Oklahoma State's behind on its roster. And Mike Gundy hasn't had the quarterback play that we associated with him probably up through 2023 and not now. And so I think because of that, Oregon will absolutely fly away from them.
John, bonus question while we're out on the West Coast, and mainly just because I want to hear you attempt to pronounce this. I didn't get to see the Cal game last weekend, but my friend is blowing me up all week saying keep your eyes. He probably won't win the Heisman, but what can you tell us about the freshman QB out at Cal, the left-handed gunslinger?
Yeah, I'm Googling his name because I can say it, but I want to have the spelling in front of me.
That's a little bit of a cheat, but because I'm looking at it dead in the face and I'm struggling. So,
yeah, it is.
I'm going to leave you all to deal with that.
It is Saga Pulatele, and he did have a very nice debut, and he's making Cal people right now forget that they lost the Mendoza kid to Indiana via the transfer portal. Indiana, side note, is the team I expect to take a significant step back over the course of this season. Yeah, that's like if Justin Wilcox has a difference maker at quarterback, we know he always has a good defense, and he's been that way since he was the best hire that Derek Dooley ever made at Tennessee was Justin Wilcox as his defensive coordinator. So if he has a difference maker at quarterback, that'll be interesting. Of course, they lost their star running back, Jaden Ott, who's going to start for Oklahoma against your Wolverines tomorrow night.
Didn't start offensively though, from what I've read in their game. What can you tell us, or what have we learned about that? Because I had high hopes for this kid, and it seems like he was limited to special teams duty only last week.
Yeah, I thought I read that maybe he had been nicked up a little bit in camp. He'll play a lot of ball for them this year.
I was afraid you'd say that. I was hoping he'd be out Saturday.
Yeah, I've seen him. I saw him in person a few years ago at Notre Dame Stadium when Cal came and played against Notre Dame, and I think he was a true freshman then, and he ran incredibly hard and gritty against the Irish. So Ott is a good player. Cal, look, Cal's in the ACC naturally. That makes sense. The Atlantic Coast Conference needs all those numbers out by the Pacific Ocean, but this is a big year for Justin Wilcox. He's been there a long time. He's been consistently decent, but he's never been over the hump. The ACC is pretty wide open beyond Clemson and Miami, and maybe Florida State's better than we thought. But beyond that, can you be a top 6 team in the ACC this year? I think that is a reasonable goal for Cal. I don't know if I expect Cal to attain that goal.
I don't know what we take out of Vanderbilt's win over Charleston Southern, but they do go to Blacksburg this weekend. They defeated the Hokies down here last year. What are your thoughts about Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I think that may be the closest game of the weekend, or one of the closest games of the weekend. It could possibly be which team has the ball last. And if Vanderbilt has the ball last in a one-possession game, I like Diego Pavia to get it done. Now, I picked the Hokies because they're at home. But I went into the game last year very clearly telling people on Football Scoop that Virginia Tech was on upset alert. I didn't have the guts to pick Virginia Tech on our picks panel last year, but on our podcast, I did tell everybody that this was going to be a remarkably improved Vanderbilt team, and it still is. And this Vanderbilt team should be better than last year's Vanderbilt team. I just think there's so much pressure on Virginia Tech that you talking to me about Baylor getting bad early if they lose, and Virginia Tech drops to 0-2 and loses to another SEC opponent after losing to South Carolina last week and after being really middling in Brent Pry's tenure there, then again, they're not done losing, and you're talking about a long year in Blacksburg. And that's probably just being transparent with you guys. The seats in Charlottesville and Blacksburg are probably the 2 hottest seats anywhere in the ACC.
But Virginia's for lovers, though, Bryce.
They are, and they love winning, not losing.
John Bryce of footballscoop.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Bryce, as always, we really appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Absolutely. Always love it, guys. Wait, who do you have in the Virginia Tech Vandy game? What's your pick?
Hey, you got to watch the next segment.
Killing me, Smalls.
We'll talk to you later.
Be good, boys.
See
All
ya.
right. Let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's get to the Wonder Slate, which, spoiler alert, does include Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech. We will get into that when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
Without further ado, it is the Wonder Slate here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Mr. Neely, the floor is yours.
Let's roll, baby doll, as we get into week 2 action. Yeah, mixed bag for us last week. Some were nice, some not so nice. Mo goes 5-5, yours truly 4-6. But hope springs eternal as we roll on into week 2, and we kick off the Wonder Slate early, bright and early tomorrow with 3 11 a.m. games. The first one begins on ESPN as number 11, the 11th ranked Illinois Illini head to Duke, where Mo, Illinois is favored by 2.5.
I like Illinois, even on the road. I think I like Illinois by at least a field goal over Duke here. Give me Illinois here.
I'm taking the Illini as well. This could be a classic letdown situation, but I don't think Bielema Ball is going to let them do it. He's got this team kind of motivated. They'll catch some L's, but they won't be for later in the season. I think they got the goods to win the game by at least 3, even if it is close. Give me the Illini as well. On Fox at 11 a.m. Cy-Hawk Trophy will be up for grabs. Iowa and Iowa State. They'll duke it out in Ames this year. Iowa's unranked, but Iowa State is ranked 16th in the land, and Iowa State, Mo, is favored by 3.5.
Yeah, I like the Cyclones, man. And, you and John talking about it, I don't know that this is necessarily a 13-9 type ball game. I think Iowa State might have a little bit more firepower than we're giving them credit for. I like the Cyclones at home in this one.
I'm picking, this is going to be weird. I got a chance to win 2 different ways here. This is why it pays to shop early sometimes. I got Iowa State minus 1.5 months ago, early in the summer, and that could pay dividends because I do think this is a close game. I think Iowa State covers 1.5. I don't know that they cover that 3.5 spread. I think it's a field goal game, just like we saw last year. I'm taking the Cyclones for the purposes of the Wonder Slate, or excuse me, the Hawkeyes for the purposes of the Wonder Slate. And I hope it's another good game. It will be entertaining. And again, it's only an entertaining game if you're a fan of these two teams or you're a real sicko. But the good news is you get to start your day with a heavy dose of chaos between those two teams. Give me the Hawkeyes at 11 a.m. Final game at 11 a.m. If you can locate the CW network on your television, you can watch this game, folks. Baylor will be at number 15 SMU. We just talked about it a minute ago, Mo. SMU's 15th in the land. Lost a lot from last year. Don't know a lot about them, but they're favored by 2.5 early tomorrow.
Yeah, SMU first year in the ACC this past season, played for conference championship, had a lot of folks nervous because they were thinking they were going to get into the playoffs until Clemson finally took care of business. But with what we've seen out of Baylor, I like the Mustangs here, especially at home. Again, give me SMU to cover.
Yeah, I'm taking SMU to cover, and this is, 2025 rivalry, right? They're not conference mates anymore, unfortunately, but they've been playing each other since 1916. I think SMU's got the goods to win this game by 2.5. 2:30 kickoffs now. We go to ABC. Number 20, Ole Miss is favored by 9 at Kentucky.
Not sold on Kentucky at all. Really like the young kid at quarterback for Ole Miss. I feel like this is a double-digit ball game for the Rebels, and this might be the beginning of the end for Stoops. Give me Ole Miss in this one.
I'm taking Ole Miss as well. I don't know really anything about either one of these teams just yet. So therefore, I'm kind of sticking to my preseason prediction of, I don't really like Kentucky that much heading into this season. So give me Ole Miss by 9. I'll eat some crow if they don't cover that number. Wouldn't also be surprised if they somehow lose this game. It feels like a game that Kiffin has been prone to lose in the past. We talked about this one a lot early. It's an unranked opponent matchup, but it will be a vengeful battle between Kansas and Missouri. And Mo, on ESPN2 at 2:30, Mizzou is favored by 6.5.
I don't like that at all. I don't know if Kansas wins outright, but I don't think Missouri covers a touchdown. Give me the Jayhawks in this one.
I'm with you. I'm taking Kansas to cover the points. It'd be cool to see them win just to kind of further fan the flames and get the folks in Columbia a little more riled up. But, yeah, give me Kansas to cover the 6.5. Don't know that they win. Speaking of games only fans could love, if you're a fan of Wisconsin or MTSU, you're probably the only people on the planet that are going to watch this game, unless you got some sweet coin down and the line is 28.5. Do the Badgers have the goods at home versus MTSU at 3 o'clock?
Goodness gracious, that's a lot of points. But I saw the Blue Raiders this past weekend lose by 20 at home to Austin Peay. And I don't know, and I hate this, but I don't know that there's anything that makes me think they can cover 29. Give me Wisconsin.
I'm taking Wisconsin, too. When I saw the line was 8.5 last week for MTSU at home, that is a classic rut-row. That is a scary situation. Vegas had the goods. They knew MTSU was not maybe ready just yet. Tough loss for them. I think Wisconsin covers. Big game, 6:30 ACC Network. Vanderbilt is a 2-point dog at Virginia Tech.
You know what? I like the Commodores in this game. I think they're playing with a lot of confidence, maybe deserved or otherwise. I don't know. But I think Vanderbilt, and I don't even know if it's an upset if they go to Blacksburg and win. I like the Commodores here.
I'm taking the Hokies. I wonder if the Pavia brothers will be allowed in the building. Keep your eyes peeled. I like the Hokies to win this game. They weren't as bad as that final score kind of really got away from them down the stretch in the fourth quarter. Hopefully, they've improved their special teams play from last week, but I'll take them -2. Big game at 6:30. Klanga is hosting Arizona State. Do the Sun Devils roll in and win, or do they even cover the 6.5 points on Saturday night?
I just don't think Mississippi State is very good. That said, 6.5 points on the road is a lot. Give me Mississippi State to cover. I may regret it later.
I'm rolling Mississippi State. This is vibes only. We'll know by the end of the first quarter if they're going to cover this game or not. They might get blown out if the vibes are not just right. But if that Mississippi magic hits, look out. They might be on upset alert, will the Sun Devils. But I'm taking Mississippi State, that is, in this showdown. Another 6:30 kickoff. Number 15, Michigan at number 18, Oklahoma. The Sooners are favored by 5.
You know, I'm not necessarily sold on John Mateer, but Michigan rolling into Norman with a freshman quarterback, I'm going to go with the Sooners here.
I'm taking the Sooners as well. I think they win this game kind of 20-10. It's going to be kind of ugly. Michigan struggles offensively. They got Justice Haynes, who's a hell of a running back, but he's not all the way there just yet. They'll try and keep it simple. I think the levee kind of breaks a little bit in that sense in the second half for Michigan. Give me OU by 5. We close it, Mo. A game, well, we've said this a lot. A game only a fan of these teams or a Tennessee fan could love. Does UCLA cover 2.5 at UNLV? We'll be hate watching yet again, will the Vols fans?
You know, I don't think UCLA does cover 2.5. I like the Rebels outright in this one. And, you know, we talked about it just now. I think Deshaun Foster's in trouble. Give me the Rebels.
I'll take UCLA just to be a little contrarian here and hold out hope for the Nico bandwagon. Give me UCLA minus 2.5.
There we go. That's going to do it for the Wonder Slate. That's going to do it for the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back Monday at 2 o'clock. We will wrap all this up and put a bow on it. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great weekend.